Running Aces Casino and Racetrack is the Twin Cities' premier choice for exciting entertainment, 24/7 gaming and dining, monthly comedy shows, and $1 blackjack with no commission or ante, making it the most player-friendly casino around. Trout Air Tavern at Running Aces offers Minnesota-inspired handcrafted dishes with locally sourced ingredients and the trout that made the area famous. Running Aces Casino and Racetrack, 25 minutes north of downtown. Visit runaces.com. Running Aces, your night out is waiting.
We interrupt this program to bring you Vikings Vent Line, the one show where you get to react to how the Purple played right away. Call in now with your thoughts on the game. 651-646-8255. This is Vikings Vent Line.
Spins away. And trying to get in the end zone. The ball is loose. It appears to be covered by Minnesota for a touchdown, and it is. Dalvin Cook, big running room. Across midfield, inside the 30 with a man to beat, and Dalvin Cook is tripped up inside the 10. Second down and 14. Pocket collapses again on Stafford, and he is going to pitch it, and the ball is on the ground. Minnesota scoops it up, and on his way into the end zone is Daniil Hunter. That is a touchdown.
Bunch of sissies. If you're the Lions, I'll start out with the first vent, okay? And it has nothing to do with the Vikings. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Why would you call 3 timeouts? It's a snappy game. We're looking to be done by 2:35. Vikings dismantle with 10 sacks, the Lions. You call 3 timeouts to get the ball back after a punt, and then you take a knee?
Yeah.
Get out of here, Matt Patricia. Have some respect for the process.
Yeah.
Clean yourself up.
Be a little more professional.
Yeah. Well, just quit slouching over there in your hooded sweatshirt. You haven't showered in 10 days. We'll take your calls. Not a lot to vent about. Although Kirk Cousins gave you a couple things to vent about. And I'm sure we'll find some stuff. We have one open phone line right now. 651-646-8255. And thanks to Lucky's 13 Pubs, 5 metro locations, the best spot to watch football all day long on Sundays from noon until, I guess you could, in theory, stay there from like noon until 10:30 p.m., drinking those Bloody Marys and getting your hands on some of those great appetizers. Lucky's 13, the official sponsor of Vikings Vent Line. I'm Phil Mackey. That is Manny Hill. We've got Jonathan Harrison taking your phone calls. And let's start out with one of our favorite guys, Realistic Randy in Oakland. What's going on, Randy?
Yeah, the whole Matt Patricia thing. I'm sitting here watching this guy on the sidelines. I've been talking about be professional, be professional. This dude looks like he's just sweating all over the place, using vegetable oil for deodorant. But as far as I owe an apology, I looked on my Twitter earlier today, halfway through the game, and I realized someone hacked my account and tweeted out that Cook doesn't need to play today, that he doesn't understand. So I just want to apologize. I got hacked. I never meant to say that whatsoever.
Hey, real quick, Randy, did anyone else, when you guys were watching Dalvin Cook and you saw daylight ahead and it's going to be a 60-yard run and he's got to open that thing up, the whole time I'm thinking, oh, God, hamstring.
Yeah.
But he came away okay.
Don't pop the hammy.
Yeah, I was very concerned about that, but he looked to be okay. And my thing was, if he has any lingering issues with the hammy, he should have stayed out. But, hey, I was wrong. He played well. He did a really good job today. But I know we already talk about how we have the best receiver and the best safety in the league. I think we need to add best defensive end in the league for this Minnesota Vikings team. Daniil Hunter with 3.5 sacks, 3 tackles for losses today, and something that may get overlooked. The constant rotation of defensive linemen we have, the backup D linemen, were outstanding. I think that's something that may be underappreciated. Tom Johnson alone had 2.5 sacks. Stephen Weatherly, he had a sack and 2 tackles for a loss today. So overall, great defensive line performance. I thought that the offensive game plan wasn't bad considering that Diggs was out, and you knew that teams would focus more on Adam Thielen today. They would key on him more. Chad Beebe, he did a really good job. I wish I could have seen more of him or more targets thrown his way. I think he should be, either him or Algic Robinson should be the third receiver moving forward for the rest of the year. And I thought coaching was much better this week. They had 2 situations that were identical to last week, and they did an about face. They had 4th and 3 on the first possession, and everyone thinks about the Latavius Murray touchdown. What led to that on 4th and 3, Laquan Treadwell wasn't on the field at all on that play on 4th and 3. And last week they had Laquan Treadwell on the field on 4th and 1 against the Saints. They threw it to him. It was incomplete pass. Treadwell wasn't on the field at all, and I thought that's great because he has gotten better, but at the same time he doesn't get consistent separation, and that's a liability that handicaps you 10 on 11 on offense. So I think Chad Beebe, he got the first down, and that led to the Murray touchdown. And with 50 seconds left, 2 timeouts remaining, I believe it was, or 3 timeouts, whatever it was, before the end of the first half, they stayed aggressive, and they got points out of it. So, like I said, I expect this team to win the division. I just wonder how they're going to do when a team is better than the Lions. They are going to respond back to their adjustments, but so far so good going into the bye week. 5-3-1, good stuff for the Vikings.
Thank you. Realistic Randy in Oakland.
Yeah, that's a good call again, as Randy gives us every week. Yeah, on the last point about just the tougher opponents for the Vikings, yeah, I mean, they're coming now. I mean, the Bears aren't a great team, but we know, Phil, you and I both know, like, whenever the Vikings go to Soldier Field, it's just like, that's like kind of a house of horrors for them. Like, even when they win, it's just like ugly and it's just not fun. And even when the Bears are bad, it's never really fun to see them go to Soldier Field and play. But yeah, I mean, after that, you've got the Packers and you've got the Patriots, you've got the Seahawks. The Seahawks are playing well right now. They needed to get this win today. They really did when you look at what they have coming up after the bye week. So it's good for them to get this win, and the defense has been really, really good the last month or so. Mm-hmm. The last 4 games, the defense has been really, really strong. It's starting to look like the unit that we saw last year.
Yep. In fact, for Vikings fans who are on the ledge about the first 3 or 4 weeks of poor and shoddy, leaky defensive performances, apples to oranges here, but go look at the first 4 games the Patriots played last year. They had 30, 35 points per game given up defensively. And everybody was wondering, man, how can the Patriots have the worst defense in the NFL, this, that. And I believe they allowed an average of 15 or 16 points per game the rest of the season. And the Vikings are in that territory now where they're back to being who they were on third down. They're allowing like 25% success rate on third down. 10 sacks today. Yeah. Daniil Hunter with 3.5 and a touchdown, scooped up that fumble. 651-646-8255. Ben in Florida, you're on Vent Line with Manny and Mackey.
What's up, Ben?
Nothing much, guys. Just 2 things. The fumble that Matthew Stafford had that pretty much sealed the game. Mike Zimmer should take that entire play and play it over and over to Kirk Cousins and show him this is what you're doing every single game. Hopefully he gets that. And defensively, I know the Vikings defensive line is good, but I question if the Lions offensive line actually showed up today because some of those sacks are just a little bit, seemed like a little bit too easy. But hey, I'll take it. They're 5-3-1 going into the bye. Got a tough stretch coming up, but anything can happen in this league. You never know. So glad the team is 5-3-1.
Right, Ben in Florida. Thanks for the call. Let's buzz through a couple here. Chancey in Fargo. What's happening, Chancey?
Hey, guys. I thought it was a game that the team can really build off of, right? I think that the division title will be decided over their next 2 games, Chicago and Green Bay. The Green Bay game is probably for the division if everything shakes out. And I like that the team is crescendoing, moving up. This was a nice game to see where some role players stepped up, where you didn't have the big feel in their Diggs game, and you had to rely on that to win. You saw Kyle Rudolph actually show up. You got Aldrick Robinson. Cook is kind of coming back into the fold. I like it as just a building game. And if the defensive line is going to play like that, they can beat anybody, and I mean anybody, including the Saints and the Rams. If you're going to get that kind of defensive line effort, you can win. I like that they're crescendoing, and like I said, it's a good building game, and I just want to see the role players keep contributing. Curse, some of these other guys, it was a great win and really workmanlike, but the most convincing victory really of the season, if you ask me. So thanks a lot.
Chancey and Fargo, thank you. He brings up the defensive line.
Yeah.
You can make a pretty strong case historically in the NFL, especially the last 20, 25 years. Super Bowl champions, and yes, I am putting that title next to the Vikings because I think they're one of 8 teams that can win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're number 1, but I think they're one of 8 teams. Mm-hmm. Pass rush and passing game. If you have a pass rush, if you can flush to the opposing quarterback and then by extension generate turnovers, and if you can throw the ball and move it through the air, and yes, I get it, you can't ignore a run game and you have to have an offensive line and all these things and you have to be able to stop the run, but if you have a pass rush and you can move the ball through the air, those might be the 2 most important ingredients for winning a Super Bowl. They can do that. Now, they also have a quarterback that blue screens twice a game, which he did again today. But, yeah, that pass rush, now that Everson Griffin's kind of back to himself, good luck.
Yeah, the defensive line, I think and Randy sort of brought this up in the first call we had here, is the defensive line, there's depth there now. Like the defensive line last year was really good, but you could see later in the season, those guys started to get more and more tired and more wore down because they just didn't have the depth. And you saw with the Eagles last year, I mean, they were rotating defensive linemen in every other play, and that's, they kept that defense fresh en route to winning the Super Bowl. This year, now with Stephen Weatherly making great strides, and now Tom Johnson is back, but he's not starting on that defensive line. He's like a rotation guy now, so he's fresh. This is big that they can have some depth now and guys that can sort of rotate in. Yeah.
You're listening, by the way, to AM 1500 KSTP Minneapolis St. Paul. It's 1500 ESPN and Vikings Vent Line. We have a couple open phone lines right now. 651-646-8255 and 877-615-1500. I like the alliteration here on line 5. It's Christian in California. What's going on?
Hey, I was born in Minnesota. I love the Vikings, and what made the Vikings so great last year was the fact that they had so few mistakes on offense. Like they didn't turn the ball over, and then this year it just seems like they're losing games because they have momentum, and then they turn the ball over. It happens like twice a game, and they lost last week because they turned over the ball twice. And it's just really disappointing because they have like a better passing attack, and they look good. It's just they just keep making those like really bad mistakes of turnovers, dropping it and throwing it interception.
Yeah, Christian, thank you for the phone call. The interception, the Darius Slay interception, I don't know what Kirk Cousins was looking at.
I don't think he even knows what he was looking at, to be honest with you. That was really bad.
He is. I made a joke about this a few weeks ago, but it's true. I tweeted the GIF today. He is a perfectly well-running computer for 3 hours, except it'll just shut down out of nowhere and give you the blue screen of death. And then you have to restart it, and it's like, okay, then it runs really well for an hour, and then, fumble, dumb interception. And that's how the only real bad thing I felt today was, why did Kirk Cousins throw that? It wasn't like a route miscommunication. I don't think Adam Thielen was running the route, so guessing it wasn't him spacing out.
Yeah, there were more Lions in that area than there were Vikings. So he I don't know what he was thinking there. The other thing that I think we need to maybe keep an eye out for is, Dalvin Cook had the long run that set up the touchdown to Thielen, and that was great. And it's, they're going to need him to be a part of this thing if they're going to go on a run here. But he's got to secure the football a little bit better, man. Like that's kind of. I'm concerned that that's going to kind of become a thing now with him. Like we saw the last time he played substantially, he had a nice run, and then the ball got poked out of his hands, and so that's something to sort of keep an eye out for. I mean, we had a running back here not too long ago that was the running back here for about a decade that had some issues with securing the football. So I like Dalvin Cook. I like him a lot, but he's got to clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, it probably helps if he can just start playing some games, right? I mean, the fact that he's only played 7 games ever? 8?
Out of a possible, 25?
Something like that, yeah. 651-646-8255. Bob in Pennsylvania. Hey, Bob.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on with you, man?
Today, this win was about a couple things. One, to plant the seed of fear in our next 4 opponents, the Bears and Mitch Trubisky. By the way, Mitch, double-digit sacks with the front 4. Everson Griffin, Hunter, Joseph, and Sheldon Richardson. So have a couple nightmares about that. Number 2, when Dalvin Cook is on this offense, it's an explosive offense. He had a fumble today, but let me tell you, he made up for it in every other play that he made, because every time he touches the ball, there's speed, there's an extra spin off the initial hit that he gets the other yard or 2, and the screen passes open up. I love Cook. I love this offense. I'm looking forward to the next 4 games, which are huge, to get back on top of the division, get back to the playoffs, and look towards that Super Bowl.
Right on. Bob in Pennsylvania, one of our favorite callers. I like when the Vikings play in Philadelphia and he gets to do recon and almost gets murdered inside the link.
He almost got thrown off a railing there, I guess.
Yeah, he almost died.
He went to the Vikings-Eagles game and
Bob almost died.
Almost got thrown off the second deck.
We're happy that Bob didn't.
By his buddies, in fact.
Well, that's you can never trust those Philadelphia friends, man. Yeah, it's all fun and games until someone stabs you with a shiv or something. Can we have a moment of silence for Adam Thielen's streak of 100-yard games? Just a little moment of silence. Okay, that's good.
Yep,
4 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. But I think that goes to show you when Stefon Diggs is on the field, just how difficult it is. Teams treat Stefon Diggs oftentimes as the best receiver on the field. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's what. So when he comes off the field and it's a bunch of Chad Beebes running around or Laquan Treadwells, becomes a lot easier for Slay to just cover Thielen and have safety help on a regular basis. So he was only targeted 7 times. He's usually targeted 10 plus times per game. So the targets were down and the catches and the yards were down. But I think I would still stay on that stock for the rest of the season. But it does show you if Stefon Diggs is out, it just becomes a lot easier to play defense against this passing game.
Yeah, well, and it just shows you just how good these guys are. Thielen and Diggs is that when you take one of them away, obviously the Lions are inclined to focus all of their attention then on Adam Thielen and make it more difficult for him to be a factor in the game, but that also can open up opportunities for Aldrick Robinson and Chad Beebe and Laquan Treadwell.
Hey, Laquan, I believe was the leading yardage receiver for the Vikings today with 37. In fact, how about this list of yardage for the Vikings receivers?
Is that a career high for him?
It's got to be close, right? There's no way that guy's had 50 yards in the game. Yeah, he had 37 yards. Kyle Rudolph had 28, and then everyone else had 22, 21, 20, 20, and 16. So congratulations to Laquan Treadwell, leading receiver for the Vikings in yardage today. Let's go to Thomas in Eden Prairie. Thomas, you're on Vent Line.
Hey, guys. I'm just coming home from the game right now, actually, and thought, what a defensive performance against a very decent team, and what a poor offensive performance passing from Kirk Cousins.
Yes, absolutely. You mean it was a great passing performance from Kirk Cousins? Is that what he said?
I thought he said poor passing performance.
Okay. He stopped talking there, so. Yeah. By the way, if you are leaving the game, you can definitely call us. Yeah. Even if you got your buzz on. 651-646. Just don't swear, please. We have to dump you. And Jeff in Texas, if you're listening, just don't.
Just doesn't sound great.
651-646-8255-877-615-1500. Let's go to Steve in Shorewood. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Phil. Or was it 5 or 8 win Phil this year?
Anyhow, listen, mathematically, Steve, I think mathematically that prediction still lives.
Wow, that was a stinker yesterday in Champaign. Holy buckets. Yeah. Anyhow, this is a recipe between their offensive line being awful, and now, Stafford has no targets hardly that are legit. This was a recipe for, I think, what happened. But, at the end of the day, Seattle, Philly, the Rams, New Orleans, it'll be, and maybe the Bears. It'll be, can they get through those? Are they going to be in a wild card? Or are they going to have to play more playoff games? Or are they going to get a bye? And if they have to get a bye, maybe they got a chance. If they have to play 1, 2, 3 games to get to the Super Bowl, I think that's going to be really tough.
Yeah, and either way, thanks for the call, Steve. Either way, Manny, it's looking like no matter what, if you start to project down the road, NFC Championship game, if they get there, it's a big if. Mm-hmm. That game ain't going to be at U.S. Bank Stadium. Wasn't that kind of the hope last year? Okay, if you could just get that game to U.S. Bank Stadium and go 13-3 again, well, the Rams would have to fall off a cliff for that to happen. And so would other teams in the NFC. The Saints would have to fall off a cliff, and they have a tiebreaker over you.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think right now, if you're the Vikings, you're just set on just try to win this division so that you can at least get one home playoff game in that wild card round, and depending on if you're your 3 seed or the 4 seed, will also probably determine if you have to go, if you win that game, if you have to go to New Orleans or Los Angeles. I honestly, believe it or not, even though I think the Rams are a better team, I would almost actually prefer if the Vikings are going to go on the road, I would prefer them to go play the LA Rams, because I think that environment, I could see Kirk Cousins and this offense going on the road and sort of thriving in that environment. I want no parts of the Superdome in the playoffs again, man. That place is just so hard to win, especially in the playoffs.
Well, I think most importantly, regardless of environment, I agree that's a tougher environment. I just would rather have no part of Drew Brees.
Sure, yeah.
And Drew Brees playing at the level he's playing at, probably in his mind thinking this is my last chance at a Super Bowl, because you can't guarantee anything beyond this season. Yeah, it would be, you're going to have to win a game on the road in the playoffs no matter what, unless you run the table here the rest of the way with a tough schedule. So that's the path. It doesn't mean it's not possible, but get through the Bears and get through the Packers here on your schedule before you start projecting
and win your
some of this
division.
stuff.
Win your division. That's where your focus has got to be. I mean, obviously for them, focus on the next game, but ultimately win the division, get that secured up so that you can get yourself a home playoff game at least. And I mean, I don't know who's going to come out of the NFC East right now. It'd probably be Washington right now, but they got beat by Atlanta today.
I'm still putting money on Philadelphia coming out of that division. Philadelphia will, I mean, obviously they're not headed for a 13-3 season either here, but could they get to 10-6, 11-5? They'd have to win a lot of games to get to 11-5. 651-646-8255. 877-615-1500. Couple open phone lines if you guys want to snag them right now. Vikings Vent Line powered by Lucky's 13. Let's go to Mike in Coon Rapids. You're on Vent Line with Mackey and Manny.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good, Mike. Easy win for the Vikes.
Well, it was a good game on defensive side, which I was actually nice to see the defense show up with a bye week instead of thinking about the boat in Minnetonka already. Anyway, I just have a comment. I remember listening to another one of your competitor stations, but an old Vikings who was being, on a network or whatever. They were talking about Cousins, and a couple of us were talking about the bar today, and we're like, yeah, if you watch him, they're right. He looks at his first receiver all the time. It seems to us that he doesn't look off his receivers very often. And I'm just curious, your guys' opinion on if that's just him not, trusting the reads, or is he just thinking he only has like 2 seconds to throw the ball, or what the deal is. We're trying to figure out why he's not looking, option 2 and 3 on a lot of the, play calls.
So I'm not going to pretend to be an all 22 film guy here. We have other people on staff who definitely do that very well. But my guess is if you start to go down the list of who his number 1 option would be and then who his number 2 option would be today, if Stephon Diggs isn't on the field, it might be that he's looking at Thielen and then, or Thielen, Diggs, and Treadwell. So it might be some of that. Thank you, Mike. That's a good question. But he doesn't throw that many interceptions either. That was only his 5th interception of the year today, and I don't know.
But I wonder if the interception he threw today, he was trying to force it into traffic to Thielen, and I wonder if there is a little bit of something to that in that, which, you kind of understand it because, look, Thielen is fantastic, and obviously he's the guy that, especially with Diggs being out today, he's the guy that Cousins trusts the most. But I do think that there needs to be a point where you've got to be able to, if you can look down and see that Adam Thielen is double covered, which he was double covered a lot today, you got to be willing to, look off and, give Aldrick Robinson a shot or give Chad Beebe a shot. And look, they spread the ball around a little bit today. There wasn't a great passing performance by the offense today, but, they spread it around a little bit today. It's just you're down a guy and everybody else is sort of pushed up a slot behind Thielen, and this is kind of what you get when one of your top guys is out.
Yeah. By the way, Rams and Saints, you're going to find very soon here on 1500 ESPN when Vikings Vent Line is over. The final stats: Kirk Cousins, 18 of 22 for 164 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Dalvin Cook in his return to the Vikings lineup, he was on a pitch count, but he made the most of his pitch count. 10 carries for 89 yards and a near touchdown, a 70-yard run for him. So the other 9 carries went for only 19 yards, but you'll take the 70-yard run in there. And then the Vikings had 7 different receivers catch at least a pass. Nobody caught more than 4. That was Adam Thielen. and Dalvin Cook, and nobody had more than 37 yards, but the defense had 10 sacks of Matthew Stafford. 10 sacks. Stafford went 199 yards. It took him 36 throws to get that far. And 3 yards per carry only for the Lions on 24 carries.
Matthew Stafford just, by the end of that, like by their last drive, he just looked like, I'm done. This
Peace
enough
out.
of this. Enough of this stuff.
Let's go to Stoneman in Ohio. What's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
Yeah, fire away.
Greetings from Massillon, Ohio, by the way, home of the Spielman brothers.
Yeah, we've done the Chris Spielman combination about 3 times on the broadcast this year.
I actually really enjoy listening to Chris Spielman. I mean, I think he takes it very fundamental to, where people that don't watch a lot of football can understand it. My point, though, to you guys, it's really great to see the defense since the Rams game get their mojo back. It's been fun to watch. And I got 2 things for you guys, and interesting, hopefully you comment on both of them. I noticed Brian O'Neill started for Rashad Hill. Did you guys notice that too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played really well today. I think they really have something going between him and Pat Erline at center, a really young offensive line that could develop.
Yeah, it felt really like the left side, the Isadora side of the offensive line felt like the problem today more than the right side. We'll have to break down the film and see, though.
Yeah, I mean, Riley Reif, I think, is sort of playing. I don't think he's 100%, but I mean, they need him at left tackle. You just can't survive Rashad Hill playing at left tackle for an entire season, and so they need Riley Reif out there. Brian O'Neill, I mean, I think if you put Brian O'Neill in a situation like today where the Lions don't really have a great pass rush, I think he can be okay. But if you put him in situations like last week where he's going up against Cam Jordan, one of the best pass rushing defensive ends in the league, he's going to struggle, and he struggled mightily last week. So I think for O'Neill, it just kind of depends on who they're going up against.
And then, Stoneman, what was your second point?
And, thanks for commenting, guys. My other point is the guy's been great. I hate to say bad things about Kirk Cousins, but is it just me, or does he make 1 or 2 bonehead plays a game that could be the difference between us going to the Super Bowl or not?
He does.
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yeah,
really love the show.
Thank you for calling from Ohio. And we do have a couple open lines right now if you want to grab them. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. So part of it was the opponent you're playing was weak today. You're playing at home, and your defense was dominant. A day like today, Kirk Cousins short circuits, throws a bad interception, and just makes a couple mistakes, and it doesn't matter because your defense is on fire. You're playing the Lions. So it doesn't matter in this case. Where it starts to matter is when you're playing the Saints and Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. If he blinks once or twice and Drew Brees doesn't, is the rest of your team good enough to make up for that against another team that's rock solid from 1 through 53? And the answer was no last weekend.
Right.
That's the hard part here going forward, comparing the Vikings to the top quarterbacks and the top teams in the league if Kirk Cousins hiccups twice in a 3-hour span.
And we even saw in the Rams game a few weeks ago, I guess a month ago now, where, I mean, Kirk overall played terrific in that game. And I mean, he made some big time, big boy throws in that game. But again, the game was ultimately decided at the end by a fumble. He got hit from behind and the ball came out. And, those are the type of things that you just have to hope when you get to the playoffs that you just have to hope doesn't happen. I mean, we talked about it earlier this morning, Phil, on pregame Vent Line. If this team's going to go on a run, it has to be kind of like how the Ravens did it in 2012, where Joe Flacco, for the most part, mediocre, above average quarterback, just catches fire and just plays fantastic in a playoff run. That's what we're going to need out of Kirk Cousins if this team is going to go on a run.
Yep. One final segment of Vikings Vent Line. When we come back here, we'll get to Mark in Minneapolis right off the bat, but your final chance to chime in on what you saw today in a 24-6 24-9. 24-9. I forgot about that last field goal. Hey, good on the Lions. I guess they figure we got to score 3 times in a minute. We might as well get the field goal out of the way. 24-9, and the Vikings prevail. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Manny?
Yeah, usually if we watch the Vikings games from here at the studio, but one good place to watch a Vikings game on Sunday or any night that they're playing is at Lucky's 13 Pubs. And, they have you covered for the best game day experience. Tons of TVs. They've got those legendary appetizers, those fresh half-pound burgers, those handcrafted sandwiches. They're fantastic. Wide variety of many other pub favorites. And I'll tell you what, this drink menu that they have is fantastic, too. A huge selection of tap beer, those handcrafted cocktails, the best Bloody Marys in town. In fact, you can try the Bacon Bloody, the Jalapeno Bloody, the Mother Mary, or if you want to try them all, you can just get a flight and sample them all. They're fantastic. Plus, Lucky's, they celebrate Sunday Fun Day. They have happy hour all day long on Sunday, every single Sunday. They have events and prize giveaways during games, too. They have locations in Bloomington, Burnsville, Mendota, Plymouth, and Roseville. And you know what? If you can't make it out, if you want to have people over for the game, you know what? You can call ahead to Lucky's and order some of those fantastic appetizers, and they'll be ready to go when you come and pick them up. Find them online at luckys13pub.com, luckys13pub.com.
Hey guys, it's Phil Mackey from the Mackey and Judd Show, but I also host, along with my friend Derek Wetmore, a Twins podcast called Touch 'Em All. It's basically just a couple of stat geeks making up things like WAR and VORP and BABIP and babbling on about the Twins. You can find the Touch 'Em All podcast on Apple Podcasts, the 1500 ESPN mobile app, or anywhere you would generally find podcasts.
The show solely devoted to your reaction on the game. Vikings Vent Line now continues.
Into the end zone, that is a touchdown for Adam Thielen. Here's a throw, and not a good one by Cousins. It's intercepted by Darius Slay. Slay crossing midfield and dropped to the 43-yard line by Rudolph.
Little troll job by Jonathan there. It was really the only, I don't know, for me anyways, it was the only thing that drove me nuts about the Vikings was that interception, but other people have called in with their thoughts, and we'll take yours for one more segment here. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Lucky's 13 is the spot to watch football on Sundays. They power Vikings Vent Line, 5 metro locations, and you can find Lucky's 13 on the interwebs at luckys13pub.com. luckys13pub.com, happy hour and Sunday fun day, all day, every day on Sunday for Vikings games and whatever other games you want to watch. Manny, let's go back to the lines here and get to Mark in Minneapolis, who's been on hold for a while. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing all right.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. 2 things. Curious about one thing, which I'll get to later, but the first thing is that, we can be upset about Kirk Cousins doing all these things, like all of a sudden he'll make a bonehead move or he'll throw it into double coverage. But for me, I actually like and enjoy now being a Vikings fan where I'm not seeing like little dinking and dunking like, every, I feel like the last quarterbacks that we've had.
Yeah.
I actually like somebody who takes a shot and makes it exciting. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Oh, for sure. Compared to, well, Christian Ponder is the obvious elephant in the room here where it was like one check. If it wasn't there, he'd tuck and run it for 5 yards or something less than that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just saying, like, we can, keep on beating him up, but I'm excited. It makes it fun to watch a Vikings game. The second thing is that we went into the season thinking that the NFC North was supposed to be like one of the dominant divisions, and I think it still can be, but it's interesting. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, with the Lions and also the Bears, I feel like their record is overachieving. And I also think like the Vikings and the Packers, their records are almost underachieving. So do we have a good division, you guys think?
Ooh, that's a good question. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, even like the Packers, it's just that the Packers, they are only as good as like Aaron Rodgers is right now. Like if you take Aaron Rodgers out and you have to put Deshaun Kaiser in at quarterback, like they are a completely different football team. The Lions, I don't know if Patricia's even a good coach yet, to be honest with you. And the Bears are interesting in that I don't think they're a great team, but that defense with Khalil Mack is like legit. Their shortcomings is going to be the quarterback. Trubisky just hasn't really proved himself yet. He's shown some flashes, but he just overall the product is just not where it needs to be yet. So I think that might end up being what holds the Bears off. So to answer the caller's question, I mean, I don't know if this is a great division right now, to be honest with you.
The Vikings are the only legitimate team in this division, and they're not one of the two best teams in the NFC right now. So to answer it that way, I am a Bears believer. I don't think the Bears are going to be winning 2 playoff games or anything, but
that defense is good, man.
Yeah. And so they're 5-3 after just destroying Buffalo today. They made pretty easy, quick work of the New York Jets the week before. And then they played the Patriots pretty close on October 21st. And they've got games on the horizon here against the Lions twice, the Giants on December 2nd. And they also get San Francisco still on their schedule. So those, you would think, so the Bears already have 5 wins. Let's give them wins over the Giants and the 49ers. Well, that's 7 wins right there, not including maybe a win against Minnesota. Doesn't count either the Detroit game. So the Bears have a pretty clean path to at least 9 wins.
They have the easiest schedule, I think, of any team left in the division. And I don't think they're a great team, but you factor in that easy schedule, they might. You're going to have to account for them. And I think the way their defense is playing with Khalil Mack and those guys, I mean, that defense is legit. It's just a matter of, is Mitch Trubisky going to cost them a game or two, which so far he hasn't really done that yet.
651-646-8255. In fact, let's just take one final call here because we want to get to that Saints-Rams game. Let's go to Jonathan Harrison's hometown, Partyville, where Zach is.
Hey, what's going on?
Zach, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm just calling in about if we could ever get the offense and defense to roll together. I mean, 10 sacks today, we should have won by 40. After Cook's 75-yard run, we only had about 200 yards of total offense. Captain Kirk's got to do better.
Yeah, Captain Kirk. Thanks, Zach. I love Partyville. I got some cousins in Partyville, actually.
It was kind of a blah day for the offense.
Yeah,
today.
It was
a blah day. It wasn't, I don't think it was a bad day, but it seems like we've seen them play games like this at home more so than the road. Like on the road, they've, for the most part, Kirk Cousins has gone out there and really performed well, especially in situations like with the Rams and the Packers where he sort of stepped up against, a quality opponent. But it seems like at home, for whatever reason, the offense has just been kind of
I think it's also worth noting, too, though, Stephon Diggs not playing makes your offense a lot less explosive. But if Stephon Diggs isn't going to play, and your defense, you're at home, and your defense has that much of a stranglehold on the Lions, I mean, unless you hit on a bunch of big plays, you're probably not going to score 40 or 50. I know that's what fans, you want the 40 or 50-point outburst, and that's just not. The average team in the NFL scores about 22 or 23 points in a game. And the Vikings put up a decidedly average performance, but in a game where all you got to do is not turn the ball over 4 times. Just let's pump the brakes a little bit. If you take away the 70-yard run by Dalvin Cook, it looks even worse because then they only have about 50 rushing yards to go along with 150 passing yards.
Yeah.
But they don't have to apologize for what they did today. They took care of business.
Going into the bye on a high note. Yeah.
Yep. So let's do this. We're going to wrap for this week's episode so that we can get out of here in time for this game just kicked off here. There's 13:49 left. Rams and Saints almost in its entirety. The 2 best teams in the NFC, maybe the 2 best teams in the NFL clashing right here on 1500 ESPN. Thanks to Jonathan Harrison. Thanks to Manny Hill. And Matthew Collar and Judd Zolgad are going to have plenty more Viking stuff. Purple Podcast, 1500ESPN.com is your place.
It's a very quiet day for Cousins. He has 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and just lofts it down the middle. Can you believe that catch by Rudolph? And a flag comes in after the tackle.
Skol Vikings, let's win this game. Skol Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run up the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Skol Vikings, let's go!
Lemonade, lemonade. Sure, how much? That'll be $700.
You can't be serious.
Who taught you math?
I learned from Bob Hugan. He ran a drug company that charged $700 for a cancer pill that only cost 65 cents to make.
Oh, that guy? He's no good.
You know what Bob Hugan also did? Raised over $400,000 to help elect Trump.
Really?
Yes, really.
And he would mess up our healthcare too by repealing Obamacare, leading to cuts in Medicaid and coverage for pre-existing conditions.
Who told you that?
Our parents, duh.
Well, who are they voting for?
Bob Menendez. He's standing up to Trump and Republicans from taking away our health care.
And Menendez helped write Obamacare, so you know he's going to protect it, along with Medicaid and even my grandma's Social Security and Medicare.
And women's health programs, too.
Okay, I'm with you. Vote Menendez. Vote Menendez.
Vote for Bob Menendez. Tuesday, November 6th.
Paid for by Leadership Alliance. LeadershipAllianceNJ.com. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Leadership Alliance is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Inspired by a true friendship, Green Book is the feel-good movie of the year. When Tony Lip, a bouncer from an Italian-American neighborhood in the Bronx, is hired to drive Dr. Don Shirley, a world-class black pianist, on a concert tour of the Deep South, they are confronted with racism and danger as they are forced to set aside their differences to form an unexpected friendship. Green Book stars Academy Award nominee Viggo Mortensen and Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali. This Thanksgiving, see the movie critics call a rare gem of a film and absolutely wonderful.
Presidential-style campaigning. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President Trump and former President Barack Obama agree on one thing as they hit the campaign trail. People have to vote in the midterm elections.
I'm here for one simple reason. I'm here to ask you to vote.
You got to go out and vote for Greg and Jim and a Republican Congress. We need it.
Trump was in Indianapolis while Obama was campaigning in Atlanta. Tallahassee, Florida police say a man walked into a yoga studio this evening and opened fire, shooting 5 people.
One victim has passed away at the hospital. The other 4 victims at this time are in critical condition.
Chief Michael DeLeo says the gunman then shot and killed himself. Police in suburban Las Vegas are looking for whoever else opened fire last night on the wrong home in a quiet neighborhood, killing an 11-year-old girl. Investigators say a neighbor shot at the suspects with his legally owned gun, and a 19-year-old man is now in critical condition. The 17-year-old driver of the car is in custody. I'm Tim McGuire.